There were times that were devastating. There were times that I was angry. There were times that I was jealous. There were shameful things, shameful thoughts that were going through my head. And at the time, I thought it was just me. But now I know that it's not just me. And in me writing this, I now know that I give permission to other women that this is normal. So it was so rewarding. And it wasn't until I got to the end of it that I was truly able to see the beauty in it. And I coach women through this journey, and you're not expected to see the beauty in it while you're sitting inside of that. And while our journey was filled with hurt and loss and devastation, it was also filled with love and beautiful moments and strength and bravery and courage and all of those different things that give you chills as well.
How have people reacted to the book?
The reaction is incredible. It gives them permission to feel all of these different things. This isn't just a book that says, try to be happy and try to be grateful. This is a book that says, these are the real and raw emotions that I was feeling. So it allows other women to feel that they're not alone and that they're okay, that they're normal. And that's what we want. We just crave. We just want to know that we are normal, and we all are. So it's relief that they feel. It is hope as well, that they can go through all of these different things and they can come out the other end.
In your story, you touch on the legalities around surrogacy. Now, obviously that differs around the world. Within the UK, we have what we call parental order. And I know that in the US, that state by state, it changes. In your book, you talk about new changes that came in around the time that you were doing your journey. Can you tell me about that and maybe how it compares now or to our system?
I can only speak to my experience, but that happened almost 12 years ago. So at the time, the legislation was relatively new in our state. And in Australia, all of the states have different rules and legislation around it. So we were kind of one of the first that were testing it, and the very tough rules. So you have to have known the person for a length of time. I think it was about a year. The person had to have already had children. So I had a friend at the time who didn't want children, and she put her hand up and said, I'll have a baby for you, but she wasn't allowed to. They have to be a certain age, under a certain age as well. So I had my mum put her hand up and say, I'll have a baby for you, but she wasn't able to as well. So we were very blessed that we had a number of people, but the legislation was very specific in who could do it. So you had to have a signed surrogacy agreement. You had to have a board of doctors declare that this was the only avenue for you. We had to get a lawyer. We had to go to counselling ourselves. So it was a really lengthy, I think it took us about 6 months to go through the whole process before we had a signed surrogacy agreement. So when we went to the hospital, our surrogate was the mother. So we had to negotiate, my husband and I being in the birthing suite at the same time, because usually it's just one person. And then when Luca was born, I wasn't the mother. So on his birth certificate is actually my sister-in-law and her husband were the mother and father. So they were the legal parents. And in order to get out of the hospital, Renee had to sign Luca over to us so that we could walk out of the hospital. And then eventually we had to adopt him. So we had to go through the process of legally adopting him, which involved lawyers on both sides. Again, a mountain of paperwork, doctors, affidavits and stat decks and things like that. And it ended up with us in court before a judge who made an order that yes, we could eventually adopt him. So I think the whole process took us about a year. So Luca was about a year old before we actually legally became his parents.
Do you think these laws could benefit from being changed now and maybe moving a bit more with the times and making this an easier process, a less legal structured process for those that are in a position like yours?
Yes, absolutely. I understand that the laws are there for a reason and they have their place to protect people, but I also believe that they miss a really key element, which is the human factor, that we're not just talking about an intended parent and a surrogate. We are talking about human beings here and a child that is being produced as a result, and even the financial implications as well. Our medical system, so we have a system over here called Medicare, and if you go through an IVF process just as a normal couple, then it is covered by Medicare, which means that they subsidize about 50% of the cost. If you go through exactly the same procedure, but if it is via a surrogacy arrangement, then Medicare doesn't come into effect at all, which I find completely offensive. And you are having to go down this path to begin with, which is already a huge financial burden. And then for some reason, there is no financial compensation as a result. So I felt like we were treated like a second-rate citizen at every single turn. There was something that said, no, sorry, we're going to make it a little bit more difficult for you. No, sorry, this is going to cost you twice as much. No, sorry, you actually have to undergo 2 lots of counseling. And, so it does seem very regimented. And as I said, I'm sure it's there for a reason, but those rules were in place quite some time ago. The world changes. And I think that we need to remember that we're talking about human beings here who are just trying to create a baby.
I'm curious how it's impacted on the family and the dynamics. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us?
Yes. Yeah,
a bit
absolutely.
More about that?
When I see Renee, who is Luca's auntie, when I see them together, and we're quite open with Luca as well. I remember he was about 3 or 4 when he started asking about, when he was in my tummy. And we were always going to be very upfront with him. We were always going to tell him the truth about how he came to be. And when he started asking questions, I thought, okay, it's time. So we just explained to him that when we were trying to have a baby, my tummy was broken. And so Auntie Renee had him in her tummy and grew him. And then my tummy got fixed. And so then Sophie was in mine. So we explained that to him. And he was okay with that. I thought that it was going to be a really big deal. I thought that it was going to be a big stumbling block, but it wasn't. And it proved to me that they just don't care. And even now today, we went out for a lunch with Renee and her family, and we were talking about, when Luca was growing in her tummy, and it's just a normal bit of conversation. And when I see them together, when I see Luca with his auntie, I feel this immense amount of love and gratitude. And I think it just makes us so much closer as a family. I know that our relationship is a whole lot closer as a result of it. And yeah, I just think that we have a really beautiful story and a beautiful connection as a result of it.